2, 1.
Good evening, members, and welcome to the first meeting of the Standards Committee for the Council Year 2020-21. Ahead of the election of your chairman, can I just take a roll call, starting with Councillor Chris Ash-Edwards.
Present.
Councillor Alison Bennett.
Present.
Councillor Liz Bennett.
Present. Councillor
Pete Bradbury.
Present.
Councillor Rod Clark.
Present.
Councillor Douglas Denham-Pinnock.
Present.
Councillor Anne Eaves.
Present.
Councillor Karen Healy.
Present.
Councillor Sam Smith.
Present.
Councillor Baron von Thunderclap. Apologies. Also had apologies from Paul Cummins of our independent persons, Dr. David Horn.
Present.
And Wendy Swindon Eagle. Thank you. We're holding this meeting virtually. It's on the basis that this meeting is advisory and therefore we can continue to hold it virtually. And given the way the COVID numbers have gone, I think it's best we are holding this virtually. So without further ado, could I ask for nominations for chairman?
I would like to nominate Councillor Liz Bennett, please.
Do I have a seconder for Councillor Liz Bennett?
Yes, I'd like to second that, Mr. Clark.
Thank you. Do I have any other nominations for chairman? Seeing none, could I invite Councillor Liz Bennett to take over the meeting?
Thank you very much, Mr. Clark. Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and thank you very much for your support with my chairmanship, which I gratefully accept. Before we move on with the meeting, I'd like to thank our previous chairman, Pete Bradbury, who has given a very long and distinguished service to this committee and steps down to take on a much bigger role as chairman of West Sussex County Council. So our thanks and huge congratulations go out to you, Councillor Bradbury.
Chairman, can I thank you for those kind words. Can I just say thank you to everyone for their efforts and input and contributions and help over the last few years, and I wish you all the best in taking this committee forward. Thank you.
Well, big shoes to fill, Councillor Bradbury, so thank you very much. I would like to nominate Councillor Chris Ash-Edwards to remain as Vice Chairman, to continue his good support to the Chairman. So can I ask if I have a seconder for that, please?
Yes, I would second that nomination.
Thank you very much. Can I ask committee if I have any other nominations for this position? If I don't, could I please just ask you to confirm or otherwise with your yes or no buttons now for Councillor Ash-Edwards to take the seat as Vice Chairman. Thank you. Thank you very much, members. I've just had confirmation for that. So just like to take this opportunity, if you'd like to lower your hands if you're able to, just like to take this opportunity to welcome everyone to this meeting. It's my first time chairing this, so please bear with me if we're a bit slow today. I'm bound to catch up as we go along. I just thought it would be good just to welcome everybody so that we all know who each other are, and also for the benefit of members of the public who are watching the live streaming on YouTube. So welcome to Councillor Ash-Edwards, welcome to Councillor Alison Bennett, to Councillor Bradbury, Councillor Clark, Councillor Denham St Pinnock, Councillor Karen Healy, Councillor Anne Eves, Councillor Samantha Smith, and we've also had apologies from the Baron von Thunderclap this evening. Welcome also to our independent persons. I know that Mr. Paul Cummings is not available tonight, but welcome to Dr. David Horn and Wendy Swinton Eagle. And also whether we have, can't see at the moment, so maybe officers would confirm in my ear, whether we have any members of our cabinet present this evening. Yes, we have our cabinet members, Councillor Webster and Councillor Mrs. Demir as well. So welcome to both of you this evening, and also welcome to the members of the public. So we go straight on to agenda item 4, which is to receive apologies for absence. And as I've already stated, we have Councillor von Thunderclap, Baron von Thunderclap, and Mr. Paul Cummings, and everybody else, I believe, is present. So agenda item 5 is to consider items that the chairman agrees to take as urgent business. I can tell you that I have none. So moving on to agenda item 6 is to receive any declaration of interests from members in respect of any matter on the agenda. So I'll just give you a moment now if anybody wishes to raise their hand to declare any interests.
Chairman, it's Douglas Denham St Pinnock. I don't know how relevant it is, but I have been elected chairman of the West Sussex Association of Local Councils, which is the body representing all town and parish councils in West Sussex.
That's lovely, thank you, and congratulations for that. We will note that. Thank you very much. And Councillor Bradbury.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think it's probably best if I, just because I'm now ex officio chairman of standards at the county council, so I think it's probably wise just to declare that. Thank you.
I thought you might like to, yes, thank you very much. Anybody else while you've got the opportunity? I'm not expecting any others. No, okay, those are noted. Thank you very much. Moving on to agenda item 7, which is to confirm the minutes of the meeting of this committee, which was held on the 8th of March 2021. Members, could you please vote with your yes or no buttons to indicate your acceptance? Oh, okay, Dr. David Horn.
Chairman, if I may, while I have nothing on the contents of the minutes, I'm not recorded as being present at that meeting, when in fact I was, and some of the comments in the minutes are, although I'm not identified specifically, the comments I made. So I gather the amendments have been corrected online, but I think just for the attention of this committee to record my presence at the last meeting. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Dr. Horn, and apologies for that. Those have now been corrected for you. Thank you very much. Members, Wendy Swinton Eagle, would you like to say anything? No, maybe you're voting acceptance.
I'm not down either.
Oh, and you're not down either.
Not that I can see.
And you were there. Let me just check in my inner ear with the officers. Sorry, bear with me a moment. That will be corrected, Wendy, and apologies for that. Thank you very much. So members, hopefully, if you're all happy to accept the minutes, please do so with your yes or no buttons. And they are approved. Thank you very much, committee. So we will now go on to the main item of the agenda item 8, which is the criteria for assessing the code of conduct complaints. Members, we're asked to consider the criteria for the consideration of the Code of Conduct complaints. And the Standards Committee last looked at this in 2016. So it is now time that these were reviewed. You can see the report, which is on pages 5 to 6 of the agenda. And also the local assessment criteria is an appendix at the back of that. So while you're having a look, just to familiarise yourself with that, I'm now going to hand over to Tom Clark, our solicitor, and the head of regulatory services to introduce this report to us. Tom.
Thank you, Chairman. As the Chairman has said, we haven't looked at these officially for almost 5 years. Interestingly, the County Council Standards Committee are going to be looking at their assessment criteria at their next meeting on the 14th of June. There are some similarities between the two. The way ours are set out is 1 to 5 is basically filtering complaints so that only those that have a prospect of being investigated come forward. We then have the criteria for asking whether or not we do take the matter forward. In some ways, ours are a little more polite than the county councils. They have one, whether the allegation appears to be malicious, politically or personally motivated, not sufficiently serious to warrant further action. On that, we have it, is it serious enough to require investigation? I'm not sure whether the committee would feel it would benefit from explaining that a bit more. The time lapse is also in the county council's allegations. As with all things, the longer it goes on, the less likely it would be that we want to investigate something. And clearly we need evidence before we go down the route of investigating something, given the cost of doing that. So it's not just suspicions, etc. Paragraphs 12 to 15, they've not really been necessary because we haven't had a situation where we've had to keep the complainant identity anonymous. We don't take anonymous complaints as such, but there are rules around keeping the complainant anonymous. But to date, we've had nothing really of that nature. The other thing members should bear in mind is paragraph 10 says, is the case suitable for local investigation? Remember that if it is a very serious breach, a breach of the disposable pecuniary interest, which basically means you haven't disclosed something of a financial nature, then it is a potential criminal offence and not something for us and would get reported to the police. So I'd invite members to look at the criteria and see whether you feel they need to be improved, expanded, or indeed made a bit more blunt, shortened. I await your views.
Thank you very much, Tom. While members are raising their hands, I'm going to take advice from officers in my inner ear as to who comes in what order. But while you're doing that, thank you, Tom. This is pretty comprehensive. I thought it was really useful reading, particularly liked the appendix, the local assessment criteria at the back, which I thought was very useful. But members, I'm going to hand over to you now, if anybody wants to say some words on this.
Chair, can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
It'd just be of interest to me as to how many complaints from town and parish councils are received each year and how many of them go through to a completed investigation.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to ask Tom if he's got that information to hand. He may not, but...
It varies from year to year. Last year was probably busier than most, and I think we had 6. But in terms of investigation, yes, we had one relating to one of the town councils that was investigated, but we haven't actually had that many investigations. They've been looked at, but conclusions being drawn that it isn't in the public interest for them to be investigated. But there was one last year.
Okay, thank you, Tom. The point being the financial cost of these things, and if there were only 6 received, say last year, which was a high year, then I don't think we have too much to be concerned about. If only one was adjudged to look at to be taken further. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I now have Dr. David Horn.
Thank you, Chair. And I was content with the local assessment criteria as set out. I think the most important thing is an ability to screen out things which are clearly trivial, vexatious or malicious. And as Tom Clark has advised, that already is contained within these criteria. But my question is around the criteria number 7. Is it serious enough to require investigation? And rather similar to Councillor Denham St Pinnock's point, I was going to ask that in our annual report, the numbers of those which are deemed not serious enough for investigation are also identified in the report, so we can just identify how many, if any, of any complaints do go through to a panel or a subcommittee and are then deemed not sufficiently serious to be taken forward. And I think that would be a useful addition to the annual report, Chair. That is my proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's a very good point. Thank you. I will now move on to Wendy Swinton Eagle.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Hello.
Great. Hello. At the beginning of my term, I received 2 complaints, and one complaint was actually about this committee. Is there any feedback? Do we ever get any feedback to know what happens to these complaints?
Thank you very much, Wendy. I'm just going to take advice from Tom on that one.
Yes, the annual report is really the feedback, but as Dr. David Horn says, maybe we should expand that. So it's currently only deals with the complaints that go forward, but perhaps it should also deal with the ones that are effectively filtered out. There's a certain degree of keeping things anonymous for people, but I'm sure we can go into the numbers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Anything else, Wendy, or want to come back later? If
No, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Councillor Pete Bradbury.
Yeah, thanks, Chairman. I think the suggestion of Dr. Horns is eminently sensible, just to make the report slightly, more full, call it. Apart from that, these criteria have served us well over the last few years. I personally can't see any reason for, and I'm not aware of any circumstances where they've failed us. So I'm quite happy Chairman, to go with the recommendation that you got.
Okay, that's great. Thank you. That's very helpful. Any other speakers, Miss? I can't see anybody. No. Okay. Oh, Councillor Clark. God.
Thank you. It was just a last minute thing, just thinking about those figures of last year being quite high. Let's hope now the pandemic's over and people are not all pent up at home and things happening, because I think that hasn't helped. But let's just hope things go lower if we get back to some sort of normal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, last chance if anybody wants to bring any words towards this. Okay, so I get the feeling that we're happy to support the recommendation, but we'd perhaps like to include in the annual report sort of more identifying numbers of where complaints haven't gone forward. Is that right? Tom, have I missed anything?
Yes, that's correct, Chairman, and we'll do that. Obviously, the annual report will come to you after Christmas.
Okay, thank you very much. So we can look at that then. Right, so what I will do is just read the recommendation once more so that we know what it is. And the recommendation is that we are asked to consider the present criteria used to assess complaints and delegate the update of the criteria to the monitoring officer in the light of that debate. Well, we've had that debate and we've made our views known. So members, can you use your voting buttons, yes or no, if you're happy that we carry this forward? Just going to give you a few minutes to do that. Councillor Clark, can I just check your voting, or do you wish to speak?
I do apologise. I've just had a hospital call me urgently and I got sidetracked. So I'm actually voting and I'm sorry, I put the wrong hand up. Sorry.
No problem. These things happen. Thank you so much. Hope everything's okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that is carried. Committee, thank you so much for your patience.
I'm all right.
First meeting, much appreciated. So that is carried, and we will now go on to agenda item 9, which is questions pursuant to Council Procedure Rule 10.2, which due notice of which has been given, and I have none. So with my thanks to all the committee, I'm going to close the meeting, but when I said the time, I would ask that you all remain on camera with your microphone turned off until we have confirmation that the live streaming has finished. So committee, thank you very much. I hope you get to enjoy the evening sunshine, and I now close this committee at 18:22.